How's everybody doing tonight? Tonight will be my 22nd discussion. Tonight I'm speaking with Jeff Smith of the legendary band Jeromes Dream, one of my favorite bands of all time. I'm stoked to talk to him. Can't wait. Hope everybody's Christmas was good. Hope everybody's New Year's going to be good also. Should be jumping on. He's going to be using the Jeromes Dream account. Ron, I was hoping you'd appreciate the Wasteland shirt. See, I knew. Should be jumping on any minute. Hope everybody's safe out there again, and like I said, hope everybody has a great New Year's. Damien, how you doing? Talk to you Wednesday. I'll be speaking with Damien from For Your Health and Arrows Inner on Wednesday. Everybody stop by and talk to us. All right, here we go. Jeff, how you doing?
Good. How are you, man?
Good.
Good. I'm just gonna drink a beer. Was that okay? I don't know.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine with me.
All right. Cool.
You're sideways.
Am I sideways?
Yeah.
All right, so I was charging my phone, but give me a second.
There we go. Perfect.
Okay. Is that good?
Yeah, perfect. Jeff, I just want to thank you so much for doing this. I appreciate you taking the time out, especially after the holidays. I know some people are, busy with family and stuff like that. And I appreciate you doing this.
Yeah, no, it's not a problem. It's easier for me to do today than next week. So, when you gave me the dates, I was like, oh yeah, that's a good. I mean, they were both good, but today was the one. So.
I'm glad it worked out. You're in California too.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, I'm in San Francisco.
Oh, nice. Well, when did you move out to San Francisco?
Late 2002. So I've been out here for a while now. I'm more Californian now, I think, than East Coast for sure.
Do you miss Connecticut at all, living there? Or I know you don't miss the winters, that's for sure.
Well, actually, that's the thing I do miss. I miss
really?
I miss seasons. We don't have seasons here. We have rain and we have dry. And I mean, it's always nice, the temperature, and there's no snow unless we drive to the mountains. But I miss the seasons because you don't notice the passage of time if you don't have seasons. So maybe I don't know, 7 or 8 years ago, I was like, why is time passing so fast? And then
now would anything bring you back to live in New England, or are you going to be in California for a while?
Short of a natural disaster or something like that, no. Yeah, no. California's home. My wife and I, we talk about maybe moving to a surrounding part of the Bay, just because it's so expensive here. But
yeah.
But for now, we're in San Francisco. So, and I have no plans to leave.
So usually I start out just asking, kind of like what everybody else asks. How did you start getting into hardcore and punk when you were a kid, and what drew you to that? The scene. And I know skateboarding is a lot of bridges the gap into punk and hardcore. How did it all work out for you?
Oh man, the long version or the quick version?
Well, I'll take the long version. We're here for a while.
Sure. So yeah, I guess I started skating when I was in like 7th grade, I think. And I was like, this is so fun. I would spend hours and hours a day just doing it with my friends. And, I picked up a Thrasher magazine one day, and I was just like thumbing through it. And, they would always have a music section. I can't remember what exactly, the first Thrasher magazine music section had, but I was like, oh, I started trying to find stuff like that. And I remember shortly after that, I moved to Florida. And the song Head Like a Hole came out by 9 Inch Nails, and I absolutely hated living in Florida. Just like, no offense to anybody in Florida. I was just away from my mom, and I lived with my dad and his girlfriend and her 2 daughters, and it was not a good situation. So I was just like angry all the time.
Yeah.
And I shared a room with the 2 girls, and I had the little clock radio next to my bed, and I would just lay there at night waiting for Head Like a Hole to come on. Everybody's asleep, and I would just like put it up against my ear, just like, fuck, you know?
Yeah.
And it just started building from there. You know, fast forward 2 years, and Nirvana's Nevermind came out. I think anybody that's around our age probably had the same epiphany when that came out. I guess bridging that gap, there was like Faith No More is the Real Thing. Even EMF, remember that band?
Yeah, yeah.
Like their record that came out with the Unbelievable song, which was
Yeah.
not a great song, but the rest of the record was like super dance punky.
Yeah.
And I loved it, you know. So I would just listen to all the stuff while I'm skating, and you know, it just kind of grew from there. And then as I got older, it went deeper, and I met people that were into cool stuff and started just, you know, doing that. By the time I got to my senior year of high school, I guess I started a band, and started, you know, I didn't really know how to play bass. I took like 2 bass lessons, and the guy basically taught me how to tune, and then was like, all right, start bringing me tapes in. I was like, is that how it works? You know? And so I brought him a tape one day, and he showed me how to play, like, I don't know, like a Green Day song or something. And I was like, yeah, I'm good. And then started a band like a couple weeks later with my friend, and we wound up actually playing with some guys who were in some old Connecticut bands that you may have heard of. I mean, you're pretty knowledgeable. So, but we played in a band with 2 of the guys that started The Pissed, but not the main guy, not Bill, the guitar player, but
Yeah.
Mike and Jerry, and they were also in a band called Brutally Familiar. Because we met them. Like my first job, I worked at Pizza Hut, and they worked at a different Pizza Hut, and so I just met them, and they were so cool. You know, they were like 25, and I was like 17. So, we started playing a band and did that
And
for a couple of years.
what kind of music were you guys playing at that time? Like, was it more of a metalcore kind of sound, or, well, because I only say that because Connecticut to me back in the day was I was a huge Dead Eyes Under fan, and I was a huge Die My Will, and I love the first. I'm not a huge Hatebreed fan, but I love the first Under the Knife. Like that to me is like the best thing Hatebreed ever put out. So
Sure.
Connecticut always meant like something special to me, because when I went down to shows down there, or those bands would come up to New Hampshire or Maine or Massachusetts, it was Connecticut always seemed like they had good heavy bands coming out at all times.
Yeah. Well, here's the funny thing. I was never into that stuff. Like I never went to those shows or did any of that stuff. It just wasn't really my thing. I wasn't like into the like tough chugga kind of stuff, and nothing against it. It just wasn't. It didn't ring any bells for me. You know, I was more into like kind of melodic stuff. There was there was a band called In Vain from Connecticut. I don't know if you ever heard of them.
I have heard of them. Yeah.
They were more like my speed. It was like, it had that like sort of emo, like melodic, but a little bit screaming kind of vibe to it that I was into. But like the Hatebreed stuff or any of that stuff, it wasn't really my thing. I remember to answer your question, was it metalcore? Kind of, I guess. You know, the other guys, they wrote all the music. You know, I was just like always like, this is so fun. You know.
Yeah.
But they were really into Quicksand and Burn and Orange 9mm, Sick of It All, stuff like that. And I got into that stuff. You know, Shift. You know, like Shift and Quicksand, like I thought those bands were great. And Sick of It All, I mean, I still listen to Sick of It All today when I'm running. You know, I'm like booking down the street, like, you know? And you know, even my son likes when I put on Sick of It All. So it's got that energy. But
Yeah.
you know, but yeah, it was kind of metalcore. It wasn't very good, but it was fun. You know, I was 17, 18. It was like it was a good experience for me. So I still have the bass player or the guitar player's bass. If he's tuning in, he's probably gonna be like, "I want my bass back." So that was the old JD bass. I still have it, but it needs
Oh,
some.
that's so what was the first like screamy bands that you were into where you wanted to be like, all right, I want to play this type of music, or did it just come naturally to you, like this is what I'm playing, and it just came natural, and you weren't really like taking, a page from somebody else's book. You kind of, it just evolved into Jerome's Dream, or did you hear some screamy bands and you were like, I want to do this type of music?
Uh, it just came naturally. I mean, the band that I saw that I saw a band and I was like, I have to do this, was Garden Variety. I have to start making music. And you know, they didn't really scream. It was like really melodic yet dissonant,
Mm.
kind of punky. But they had such energy. And I was just like, fuck, this is so good. And you know, the next day I was like, I'm going to get a bass and I'm going to play. And shortly after I started the other band, and you know, and I don't know, it just like playing with my old band. The way that the singer he sang, it was like kind of gruff,
Yeah.
um, without being like tough guy gruff, but just you
Yeah.
know. And then I started writing lyrics. And I was like, you know, I was just having feelings. I was 17, you know,
Yeah.
and I was like, hey, do you mind if I try this? And they were like, oh yeah, sure. And so I did, and I remember them saying, we can't hear you. In practice, we can't hear you. You know, I'm up at the mic, and I was all tentative and
Yeah.
nervous, and that always stuck with me. And shortly after I did that, I was like, I was starting to write my own stuff, and it just didn't fit. And I had met Nick, and Nick actually was playing in the band with me. He was playing drums. Our original drummer had left, and so Nick was playing drums, and I was like, I started writing these songs, and I was like, hey, we should just find a guitar player or a drummer. And he's like, yeah, okay. And and then I met Eric. Um, I mean, he's mentioned it, how we met before, if
Yeah.
anybody's ever watched interviews with him. But we met, and then we saw each other a little bit later after that initial meeting, at a hot water music show at this DIY space in New Haven called the Tune In. I guess it wasn't DIY, but it was close to DIY.
Yeah.
But we I was like, hey, you should come play with my buddy and I. We're making we got some songs written. He's like, yeah, okay, sure. And he shows up and he's like, he knew Nick already. He's like, what the fuck, Nick? You know? And we all met at Nick's house in West Haven, and went down in his dingy basement. And I just Nick knew how to play the songs, and I showed him. You know, we showed Eric, and he did this like drum fill in one of the songs, and these songs were awful. They were terrible, but the drum fill, like, we were like, holy shit, you know. And we knew right then we had something. And and then I just kind of started screaming. I don't remember exactly how it happened, but I do remember maybe the first show. I think it was the first show or the second show. I was using a mic, and I kept hitting my teeth on the mic, and I was
Yeah.
like, fuck this. And I kicked the mic across the room. It was like at a VFW hall in Connecticut.
Yeah.
I just like kicked it, and I was like, fuck this. And I just did the rest of the set without the mic. And I was like, I don't need this shit. And but there were no real influences on me. Just, you know,
Yeah.
letting it go. So.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about the mic because in my first impression of Jerome's Dream, I'm not sure what the first time I saw you guys was. It was either in Rochester with Reversal of Man up in New Hampshire, or it was the Tin Can Fest in Worcester that Pete had put on. But I'm not sure which one it was, but it was like around 98 in that time frame. And I remember distinctly seeing you. I see this tall guy, you know, real tall guy, and I'm like, and then you guys started playing. The energy was crazy, and then you were screaming with no mic, and I could hear you as plain as day. And I looked over to my buddy Brian, and I was like, this guy's not using a mic. I'm like, and I can hear him plain as day. I'm like, this is incredible. And it like stuck with me forever. Like the first time I saw you guys, you know what I mean? It was just something so, like, the energy was so crazy at that point. And the Tin Can Fest, it was like the first time I saw Seisha, which like a lot of those guys don't even remember playing that show, but I do, like plain as day. I mean, Portrait played that show, Force Fed Glass. I mean, that fest was incredible. And the Reversal of Man Assoc show in Rochester was incredible too. The thing I regret not seeing is the New Bedford Fest that you guys played in. I think it was it '99. That was a huge show that I missed. Race Bannon and it was like a you know, a lineup that was incredible that of course I missed. But I do remember you with no microphone, the first impression, and I was blown away. Do you get a lot of questions about that, or?
I used to. Anybody I run into now doesn't even know who I am, really. But I got a little bit of it when I first moved out here. People were like, "What the fuck? Why are you here?" You know, I'm like, "I live here now." But yeah, I mean, I don't know. It just felt natural. You know, I was like, I don't need it. We weren't using super great equipment. I mean, the stuff we used was just kind of crappy.
Yeah.
You know, I had like a crappy PV with a 15-inch speaker combo, and Nick had like some solid state Marshall or a crate or something, and you know, so maybe I thought it was like, you know, I was like, whoa, I'm actually doing this, you know, but you know, if I tried to do that now, no one would hear me with the equipment that we use now, but it just felt natural, you know. I was like, I don't need it. People can hear me, and maybe they don't need to, you know, but if they can feel, if they can feel what, I don't know, some kind of something from what we're doing, that was more important to me, you know. Like,
yeah,
the lyrics weren't for other people, they were for me, you know.
Yeah.
Like even Eric and Nick never asked me like, oh, what's this song about? What's this song about? You know, they just knew. And you know, some people talk to me about my lyrics sometimes, and you know, they're like, what's this about? You know, and sometimes I'll tell them, sometimes I'm like, well, what's it about to you? You know, that's what's most important. You know, like, you know, we make music for ourselves and for other people to kind of get into that circle with us, you know, and just kind of feel their own way about whatever it is that they're feeling, you know. Like, people talk to me about like, oh, you know, I went through this really hard time and your music got me through it, and you know, that's what's important to me. But I think I went off on a tangent there. But
no. I mean, it's an important point that a lot of people's lyrics resonate differently, and I think that's important. However, like the individual takes it in as it, you know, it doesn't. You know, it's great to read the lyrics and have you tell them what it's about, but it's also almost better how they take it in and how, you know what I mean, how they feel towards it, or how they, you know, it could be something totally different, but then you tell them, oh, it's about this, and then they're like, oh, you know, so you know, you're like, oh, it's about cats, come on, like,
my fantasy baseball team, what the fuck. Yeah.
So the first thing you guys put out was the demo cassette, right? It was like a two song one. It was only on one side, right?
I don't know. I don't remember. I mean, Eric and I, you know, I had this silly, ridiculously expensive Kenwood like little speaker system that my mom bought when I was like 15. It was like super like it was good. It was like good for what it was back then. And I remember, you know, like we would just buy bricks of tapes from Sam Ash in New Haven, and we would just, whatever we had, we would just put songs on there. And Eric and Nick were all over the news groups back then. I don't even remember what they were called, in like AOL emo chat and hardcore chat and all that shit. And you know, anybody that asked for something, I would just send it to them, you know.
Yeah.
And we would never charge them. I was just like, whatever, you know, we were just trying to get people to listen and to kind of build community. And so I don't know what the first formal thing was that wasn't on vinyl. So
Yeah.
I couldn't.
The first thing on vinyl was the Amalgamation split, right?
Yeah. Who we met at. I can't remember if it was our second or third show. We played with them at Alexander T's house, if you know who that is, in Reading, Pennsylvania. Oddly enough, Alexander T lives in Sweden now, and he came to our show, one of our Stockholm show last year.
With daughters.
With daughters, and
yeah.
He just came up to the merch table. I was like, "What the fuck?" You know?
Yeah, wow, that's crazy.
Doesn't look different at all. I mean, maybe gained like 10 or 15 pounds, but you know, haven't we all?
Wow. Yeah.
But
I know. I was telling somebody I used to wear youth larges all the time, and now anybody asks me, I'm like, yeah, I take an extra large. Like as time went on, so did my gut. So
yeah.
I can't even believe I wore youth larges, which is incredible. I look at them now and I'm like, oh my God, I wore that. I was like,
I think there's a set of JD playing somewhere in Massachusetts. Maybe it was New Bedford Fest or something. I don't know. I had blonde hair and I'm wearing a soccer shirt or something. It was my soccer shirt from when I was like 11.
Oh, really?
I still fit it back then. I was just like at my mom's house one day, like rummaging through old stuff. I was like, you know, and tried it on. I was like, oh, it fits perfectly, you know. Or well, you know, back then, like super tight, but
yeah.
But yeah. So
I always ask everybody, do you keep all the stuff that Jeromes Dream has put out? Like, you know, do you have all the 7 inches? Do you have the CDs or the vinyl of the records? Just because a lot of people are like, I don't have anything and I'm trying to get it back now, or they're just like, no, that's like, you know, I did that, I don't need it. Like, do you have all that stuff in your possession?
Not here. Some of it might be at my mom's. I don't know. I haven't been to my mom's in, I don't know, 20 years. Since I moved here, I haven't been to my mom's. So it might be there. My mom's kind of a pack rat, so like in the sad day that she passes on, hopefully not for a long time, I'll have to go through her house. I'll probably find a bunch of stuff, but as far as what I have now, I have like a couple copies of the completed CD. You know, I have like maybe 5 or 6 copies of that. Just in my closet, and then I have the LP,
yeah,
and I have the tape, and that's all I've got. Oh, and I think I might have a copy of the 1AM radio split, and that's it.
Yeah, like my buddy Ron was talking to Eric about on his talk a couple weeks ago. He was saying. Oh, I just lost my train of thought. Shit.
What Eric has, yeah.
Or
what they have, what we have.
Yeah. Oh, damn! I forgot what I was just gonna say to you.
That's okay.
Well, anyway. I know what I was gonna say. How Ron was saying that you guys did splits with bands that were really like opposite of you guys. Not opposite, but like very light, like July and 1AM radio. Which is a great thing because I mean it gives almost like a yin and yang type of like thing on a record, which I like personally. What kind of drew you guys to those type of bands to do splits with? Obviously, you did splits with Orchid and Usurp and the Book of Dead Names and stuff like that. But like, what was your thought process when you're doing splits in doing something with a band that sounds, you know, pretty different than you guys?
Really, I mean, it's just our personal taste, you know, like, do we like this band? Do they sound good to us? Like, does it make us feel something? You know, we didn't know July. We never met the guys in July at all.
Yeah.
But our friend who put it out, Seth, you know, he's like, I've got this band that I need to do something with, and we heard it, and we were like, yeah, this is great, you know. Excuse me. And we I don't know. I mean, we just like playing with bands that sound different. Excuse me again. You know, it's just, if you go to a show, do you want to sit and hear the same thing for 3 or 4 or 5 hours, right? Not really. In July, you know, we were starting to get people were starting to know who we were a little bit. And, you know, we'd show up to a show and there'd be like 50 kids there. We'd be like, yes, like we're really doing it. And, you know, versus like 10 in the early days. And, you know, it was a good way to give those bands exposure too. You know, when Rishi started playing as the 1AM Radio, he'd been doing some other bands previous to that, but you know, we wanted to bring Rishi into the fold and kind of expose people to him, because we loved him and we still love him. I mean, I was texting with him the other day, you know, and it was just like, do we love the music? And if we know the people, do we love the people? And really, that was kind of it. You know, like Usurp, I can't remember if we did the record before or after we had met them. But Chris Williams was like, hey, let's do this record. And Book of Dead Names, like, we definitely did the record before we met them.
Yeah.
I don't think we even actually played with Book of Dead Names ever, or saw them. We did play with Song Zarathustra.
Yeah.
Who it had I don't know which members, but
yeah.
We did play with them in Minnesota once on a tour. There's some terrible picture of me on the internet somewhere where I'm not wearing a shirt. Like, please don't ever see, whoever put that up, get rid of that picture. It's terrible. But it was that show. It was so hot. It was in Minneapolis in some basement, and but we played with them, and you know, so I don't know. It's some of the stuff is a little bit hard to remember, you know.
Yeah.
God, it was so long ago, but it feels like a lifetime. But
how did you guys like hook up with Orchid? And I know you guys had the Chased by Bees tour, and how did that kind of come together? And sadly, I meant to not to say anything bad about that tour, but you didn't play in Massachusetts or New Hampshire on that tour.
Sorry. Well, we played in Massachusetts and New Hampshire. Well, not New Hampshire, but Massachusetts all the time. Are you from New Hampshire originally?
Yeah, but I mean, like I said, I was born in Massachusetts and lived in Massachusetts probably 10 years of my life. And then since then, I've been in New Hampshire. But
sure.
I was all over. I'd go to shows in Maine, Vermont, New Hampshire, Connecticut. Like, I was all over the place in New England, Rhode Island. Anywhere there was a show, I would drive to. So
sure. Yeah, I mean, it's all right there.
Yeah.
But so to answer your original question, how we met Orchid. So do you remember Studio 159 in Providence?
I don't know.
So there was a DIY space. I don't know if it went on to be Fort Thunder or if it was with Fort Thunder somehow, because we never played at Fort Thunder. But we played a show at Studio 159. I'm pretty sure it was in Rhode Island. I'm pretty sure it could have been in Eastern Connecticut, but I'm pretty sure it was in Rhode Island. And we played a show together. I don't remember what other bands played, but I think I had seen the Orchid Pig Destroyer split around, and you know, in distro boxes, and I was like, oh, let's check this band out. And then they were so good. We're like, what the fuck, this band is great. You know, like Jay's bouncing all around, and you know, Jeff and his crazy drumming, and Will and Brad just like doing their thing. And we just thought they were great. You know, they played after us, and I think there was another band that played after them, but I can't remember. But it was sort of like this mutual thing where we were both just like kind of blown away by each other. And, you know, because we played right before them, they were like, holy shit, that was, you know, it was really, really great. And so we just kind of became friends. You know, we exchanged numbers and emails and started just talking about doing stuff. And we did more than the Chase by Bees. We did a US tour together as well. And it was a lot of fun. Or maybe that is the Chase by Bees tour, isn't it? Yeah, I'm getting mixed up. I'm thinking of the tour we did with 1AM Radio. But yeah, but we did, I think, Jesus, now I'm thinking, I think we did 2 tours with Orchid. You know, we played a lot of shows together. Maybe almost half of the JD shows we played together. It's probably, you know, we probably played like 50 to 75 shows with Orchid. So, but yeah, we were really tight. And then Eric lived with Will and Tim, for a while when we were doing presents. So, yeah.
So back then, what were some of the bands that you really liked watching live that you guys played with? Like what was like, wow, that energy was crazy. Like name a few bands that kind of blew you away when you saw them back then.
Oh fuck, God. All right, give me a minute. Well, obviously Orchid just like, you know, I mean, they still hold that weight to this day, right? I mean, it's really, really easy to listen to, like just get into, and just like has that visceral bite to it. And so Orchid was fantastic live. Like most videos you see on YouTube, you'll find me like somewhere around in the front. I always felt bad standing in the front because I'm so tall, but you know, whatever. Back then. Today I stand, if I go to a show, I stand in the back, but
yeah, me too, for the most part, unless I'm recording.
Yeah. Obviously Reversal of Man, you know, we drove to Michigan to see them. They played at Michigan Fest. You can watch them on their Michigan Fest set is online on YouTube, and it takes a few minutes, but then you'll see me right in the front, like getting knocked over by it's because, you know, kids were going crazy. And I mean, we played together once, Assuck, a band called 1919, who had members of Makara.
Yeah.
They were fantastic. God, just like jaw hanging. Race Bannon, also jaw hanging, way ahead of their time, like sort of out in left field from what we were doing, but like, god damn. I don't know, Heavy Hitter, Page 99 always blew me away. We played the show in Baltimore one time in this condemned building that had, we were like on the bottom floor of this condemned building in the show space. If you looked up, you could see the sky. It was like a 3-story building because the ceiling or the roof had like
ripped off,
and all the rain had worn holes in the floor. You know, like it was raining that day. They put our amps on planks. I kept getting electrocuted. Like, goddamn,
Jesus.
Yeah, that was a wild show. And then I don't know. Not in the hardcore realm, but a band called Oxes. Just always, you know, they always floored us. They played at Jay Green's Loft in Brooklyn after we moved to Brooklyn, and we I don't know if we played. No, we didn't play, but they just blew us away. And I bought their CD and was like, God damn. Yeah. And any chance I had to see them, I would see them. And then, I think we approached them. We were like, hey, you want to do some shows with us? And we're like, yeah. God, I don't know. I'm drawing a blank. Oh, this is the fun. Well, ISIS definitely blew me away. We had some some drama with them back then. But I don't know, Aaron Turner, you know, and Steve Brodsky, we had a little drama with them. It's funny, when we were on tour with Daughters last year, I was talking to Daughters bass player Monica, and she does, or Aaron Turner puts out her music, and I was telling her how much I love Isis, and told her this story, which I won't go into, but she's like, "Oh my God, that story!" You know, I was like, if I saw that guy today, I would be like, you know, we were dumb kids. Like, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You know, but if you go back to the Tin Can Fest, Eric wore a shirt that said "Fuck Hydra Head," and kind of went into a spiel about how community, or punk, is about community and not about money or anything like that. So
Yeah.
But I'll leave it at that. But anyway, Isis, fuck, they were so good. Yeah. I mean, we played with so many bands, I can't even remember. You know?
Yeah, I know some of the lineups that you guys played with were you know, jaw dropping to, you know, especially new fans that are learning about older bands. It's just the lineups on some of those fests that you guys played with is insane. And also, when you guys got back together again and you started playing and doing the tour, and you did the tour with Daughters, but more so in the United States, you guys played with a bunch of new, fresh, like heavy bands that are amazing. You know what I mean? You know, Soul Glow and Shin Guard, I think you guys played with, and Foxtails, and all these bands are incredible. Now, what kind of newer bands kind of blew you away on that tour that you guys just had?
God, all of them. They were all great. Oh, I don't want to leave anybody out, right?
I mean, who were kind of like the memorable ones? Because I mean, you guys played with a ton of bands, but did it feel refreshing that you guys got back together again, and then all of a sudden you saw all this like new, young, like talented musicians doing stuff that you guys did, you know, 20 years ago almost, you know what I mean? How did that feel, and who were some of the ones that kind of stood out to you when you watched them?
Well, okay, so, you know, I mean, I've lived out here in San Francisco for almost 20 years, I guess, and I sort of I stopped paying attention, right? I wasn't paying attention to what was going on in this world, and I can tell you a funny story about Loma, but I'll tell you about that after. But I don't know. I mean, every single band we played with, like, I couldn't believe it. I was like, I feel like I went back in a time warp, you know? Well, there was 2020 or 2019 or 2018 sensibilities or whatever, but, you know, I mean, the same kind of community was there, and it was just, it felt really, really good. And for the most part, we felt really, really welcomed back into that world, you know? And it was, I don't know, every day I was just like, God damn, is this really happening? You know? A couple bands, Elizabeth Color Wheel. God.
Yeah. That was the show I was at that I saw you guys. They blew my mind when I saw them. I didn't even know who they were, and then I saw that set, and I was like, what the hell did I just see? I was like,
I didn't want to play. I was like, I can't play after that. Like, God damn. You know, God, who else played? You know, we played with so many good bands. Lytic, Foxtails, Ostraka, Soul Glow, obviously, Gouge Away, Loma. We played with Will's band, Corrode. God, you know, Touche. We played with Touche Amore, Dangers. God, I mean, literally, No Man. Yes, Eric just texted me. Of course, No Man. Yeah, when Eric was doing his thing, people were like, "Oh, the same question got asked of him." And I was like, "No Man, No Man, No Man, No Man." Yeah, No Man. God, their new record is brutal as fuck. You know,
Did you guys play with Horsewhip too?
we did Horsewhip. Yes,
yeah, Horsewhip. That new album is incredible. I love that new album.
I mean, God, you know, I feel like there weren't even this many great bands back when we were doing it the first time. You know, I mean, just so many good bands, and it's just, yeah. I know I'm forgetting some, and later I'll be sitting there like, ah. So if I didn't mention you, I'm sorry. Close Down, For Your Health. God, yeah, so many good bands.
Now,
Even
did that,
some that didn't even sort of fit in our world. I'm forgetting names now of the bands, but you know, we played with a lot of really good bands, and every night I was just like, God, this is great. You know.
now, did that surprise you? Were you like kind of taken back by that? That like things didn't really change that much, like you said, with Community and just the reception that you guys had. You didn't feel like old guys on stage, because when I saw you, I didn't. It didn't seem like that to me. You know, sometimes like a band takes time off and then they come back and you're like, oh, you know. But when I saw you guys live, I was like, shit, they haven't missed a beat in all these years, and I was pleasantly surprised and happy to see you guys playing again.
Sure. Uh, yeah, I mean, it surprised me and it didn't, you know? I mean, it surprised me in the sense that I was like, people are really still doing this, and it's great. And then I would think back on what that time was like, and I was like, people are still doing this because it's something special, you know?
Mm.
And so then when I would think about it that way, I was like, I'm not surprised. So, yeah.
And were you how did the daughters get in contact with you? Because when I went to the show in Somerville, Mass, I saw Nick there, and I was talking to Nick probably for, you know, a good half an hour, because I've known Nick for a long time. I've known Lex and John for years and years, and we were talking and talking, and then next thing I know, you guys are playing in Europe with those guys, and
Yeah.
Nick was like, oh, you know, I don't know if he talked to you and Eric or whoever, but he's like, oh, they asked me, you know, I was like, oh, I want to come down. You guys were like, come on down. And was that kind of the door into getting into playing with daughters in Europe?
Yeah, I mean, they started maybe towards the end of JD or even right after we broke up. Um, so I never saw them back in the day. We didn't know them. But you know, when we started doing stuff again, you know, I started firing up the old YouTube and the old Spotify and trying to find out, you know, what's going on. Like, and you know, we heard them and we started looking into what was going on with them, or at least I did. I mean, I can't speak for Eric, but I didn't really know much about them. I'd heard of them here and there, and I think I had heard their first record. I can't remember what it's called.
The Canada songs.
Yeah. And I was like, wow, this is really good. It's like sort of a mix between JD and like Discord and Saxis. You know, I was like, God damn. You know, but at that time I was like, I don't think I'll ever do this kind of stuff again. So, you know, but I appreciated it for what it was. And then, yeah, I don't remember how we started talking with them. I think maybe just on Instagram or something. And, yeah, and then Eric runs the JD Instagram, and we were messaging back and forth or whatever, and they came out to San Francisco, and I think it was right before we were going to record the LP actually, and Eric was here. I was like, hey, we should go see Daughters, and they're going to be here. And so he sent him a message and was like, hey, can we come to your show? And they were like, oh yeah. And of course we were absolutely blown away. I mean, they're so good. And so after the show, you know, we chatted with Nick for a bit, and then he went and found Lex, and we chatted with Lex for a while. And, you know, and then we were just like, well, see you soon, you know. Sorry, still there?
Yep. I'm still.
My battery was low. So that was it. And, you know, and then he came to our show, and, you know, lots of kids were like, oh my God, JD Daughters. You know, they were like really pushing it. And I don't know if that had any influence, but they were supposed to have somebody tour with them. Author and Punisher was supposed to tour with them, and for whatever reason he couldn't do it. And so they said, hey, this thing. And we were like, Yep. So.
And that was the first time that Jerome's Dream made it to Europe, right? Because you guys didn't tour Europe when back in the day, right?
No, I mean that was basically the next thing in line. We were,
Yeah.
But we stopped playing before we made it there. So,
And
but
how was your experience in Europe with daughters? I mean, watching Lex as a front man is incredible every night. I mean, I would have loved to, been in your seat and just like taken that in every single night, because those guys are incredible live, and
yeah.
it gives you some sort of feeling every time you see them. How did you like the European tour?
I mean, it was one of the most incredible experiences of my life. I mean, it was amazing. Like, I think about it all the time. Like, God, and not even from the playing perspective, but just the I miss them. Like we got to be really close. I mean, we were on a bus, like a tour bus. Like never in my life would I have expected to spend a month on a tour bus.
Yeah.
But we were on a bus, we shared their bus, and it was like every morning all the dads would wake up early. So I'd go down, because you're a dad, right? You know what it's like.
Yeah.
6:30 in the morning, like, time to wake up.
Yeah.
My son's 5, so but all the dads would wake up, and we would all just kind of congregate in the little area down below the sleeping bunks, and we just all talk and shoot the shit and make fun of each other in that fun way. And I really missed that, especially with 2020. I mean, goddamn.
Yeah.
But as far as like just watching them play every night, like, let me tell you. So, I mean, we played a lot of the B markets. So, the shows weren't all like 1,000 or 2,000 people. Though there were a couple, like London was huge. Berlin was really big. We played like Munster and Bremen, and which were also amazing, and not knocking them at all. Like we had a great time. But they felt a little more intimate, I think, like the London show, like the sound was amazing, but there were like dividers, or whatever they call those, barriers, so we felt separated. But we're playing in a place like Lille, France, and or Leeds or wherever, and Malmo, and it was like everybody was right up against us, and it felt really good.
Yeah.
And I think, I don't know, I can't speak to how they felt, but I'm sure they probably felt that way too, although they were probably pretty tired after touring for like a year and a half. But I mean, watching them every night, I was just like, God, like I'd have to pinch myself. Like, is this real? I mean, I was almost 42, I guess. Or, God, I'm 43 now. I'm old man. But, like to just like come out of the gate and do that, it's just like, it's incredible, and to just watch them and the precision they play with, and the fury, and like, fuck, it was really surreal. So.
And the good thing is, like, it happened in 2019 before this had the COVID broke. So it was very lucky that you guys got to tour all over the place, really. Because if you guys got back together again and you tried to tour this year, I mean, it's kind of a, that's one thing I missed totally is live shows this past like 10 months or so. And so in a good way, it was good that it happened when it did, when you guys toured with daughters, but also it sucks now because, like, who knows when the next, normalcy type of thing's going to happen where shows actually happen again.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, we were supposed to go back to Europe in April, just for a week, but we were gonna play Roadburn, and then we were gonna get to go to Eastern Europe and play in Russia and Estonia, and I know Poland was trying to get us to come, and I don't know if that was gonna work out or not, but we were really excited about it, and then you know, and then the next step was to start writing more music. And yeah, this whole thing has put a pause on that. But I will say, Eric and I keep talking about it. Actually, we just released something on our Bandcamp today.
Oh, nice.
I'm not going to give it away, but you know, everybody that's watching right now, you get the sneak preview. But we just put something up for free on our Bandcamp. I think we said, let's just pay what you want. So, you know, you don't have to pay anything if you don't want to. But there's a song, another song up on Bandcamp today. We literally released it right before you and I got on.
Nice.
And then we'll have a little visualizer that'll come pretty soon. I'm not sure exactly what day, but
yeah.
So yeah, when you guys get off, you can hop on and check it out. Oh, see, Eric put the link up. So, but it's our Merry Christmas to all of you guys.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That gives me an idea of like a question that I wanted to ask you. When you changed your vocal style with Presents, like what made you change from screaming to that vocal style? And then when I saw you guys live last year, you kind of went back towards the screaming aspect of things, and then especially the newer song that you guys released in 2020, the commonly the other head with both hands. That's heavier too.
Yeah.
What was your thought process on kind of switching your vocals to that, and then kind of going back to like what you were doing before?
Well, when I first started, when we did Presents, I just kind of didn't want to scream anymore. You know, I was like, I don't need to do that. And I was feeling really kind of cynical, and I was a little bit burnt out. You know, there's a lot of kind of politics in the scene, and I was just like, ugh. You know, I was kind of grossed out by some of it, and so I was just it was kind of me making fun of everything. You know, I was just like, bleh, you know, and so that was sort of where it came from. And then when we came back, like, I think a lot of people don't realize that we didn't have a lot of time together because we were all in different places. Like Eric was in Los Angeles and Nick still lives in Connecticut. And so we got together maybe 3 times before we recorded, or 2 times before we recorded, and then for like a week before we actually went into the studio. We were like, they came out a week early, and we were still writing. Like we were still writing in the studio, and so we didn't have a lot of time to hash out these songs on the LP. And you know, I'm still like super proud of the record. I think it turned out really well. But there are things about it that I would change. And you know, I'll still listen to it here and there. I'm like, just to refresh myself. I'm like, oh yeah. You know, there are some moments I'm like, it's good. But when we all started rehearsing for tour, and we added another guitar player, and we got in the room together, and we started actually playing the songs live. You know, like we never played the songs live before we recorded them. And I just went in. I wasn't sure what I was going to do vocally, and you know, we just did what we did, and then we got in the room, and then I just started. You know, it felt like this, and so. And I remember too, like when we started rehearsing, I was like getting these brutal headaches. I was like, oh God, you know, because I didn't know how to do it anymore, you know. But you know, after a couple of days of rehearsing, I was like, okay, I know how to do it again. And so we went on tour, and we came back, and I had actually recorded the vocals for Commonly in the way that I had done the LP vocals.
Yeah.
But I was like, Eric, maybe let's redo the vocals, you know? And so he came back up. He's sort of my coach. um, he came back up, and we went back in with Jack and Jack Shirley,
Yeah.
and we just I just did it again, and we were like, this is what we were doing. This is what it was when we were touring.
Yeah.
This is what we were giving to people. So that's where it was, and that's where we are now. That's where my head is now. So
Yeah.
the next stuff will be a continuation of that. So I sort of like did this weird thing with Presents, which I love, and that's actually my favorite.
Yeah.
That's my favorite JD record. But we're back into the, you know, let it all go kind of. Eric says, get more unhinged. That's good. Coaching me. He's like, you're not unhinged enough. Like, ugh. So,
yeah, that's what kind of stopped me from. I was in, you know, a few small screamo bands for about 10 years, and I was singing, and the headaches were what I kind of had to give it up. Well, once I got into my 40s and was still screaming, it's every time I practiced, I had the worst migraine, and plus I had a TMJ, like my bones were like unlocking every time. So it was like, give me these crazy headaches, and I kind of had to hang it up, which, I mean, I didn't want to, believe me. I still want to this day, I still want to, you know, play music and do stuff like that. But that's what, you know, I can, you know, I'm in tune with your headache type of thing. Cause
it sucks, man. It sucks. There are a bunch of people out there, hopefully, that are watching, and they're like, I know exactly what you're talking about. But, you know, I think when you're doing it, don't let the headaches be, for everybody out there that's listening, don't let the headaches be a deterrent, because you'll find the space that you need to be in, and it'll just go away. Like after like 3 or 4 days of rehearsing, like the headaches disappeared, and I was, you know, smooth sailing after that. So
yeah. And I love Presents too. I think that album is amazing, and I think a lot of bands on that, like that time, were kind of switching it up too, kind of like Usurp did on their last album. They kind of switched up the vocals a little bit, and obviously Daughters, it was a little further, you know, they switched up their vocal style, and but when I heard Commonly, I was you know, I was kind of like, I had seen you guys live, and then Commonly came out afterwards, and I just love that song. The nice, like, slow interlude into that crushing blast, like when it hits. I think that song is amazing, and I'm glad to see you, you know, doing that vocal style again. Even though I loved the you know, the Presents style as well, and I just wanted to say, you know, it's awesome.
thanks. Yeah, I mean, who knows? Maybe that stuff will creep in here and there, but as right now, we're like, you know, Eric and I were talking about, because he lives here now. He moved here in the middle of all this, which is crazy. But you know, we've been talking about getting back to basics and just figuring stuff out. And the beauty of that is that we can be in the room together. It's hard, a little bit harder because Nick's not here, but you know, I mean, Eric writes most of the music on the LP. Nick wrote one song in Taking 12, and then everything else Eric wrote. So, you know, he and I can sit in a room together, and we can just sort of sit with things, and then send things to Nick, and he can add his special sauce to it. And so, but we don't have a space to do it right now. It's not safe. You know,
Yeah.
we're very careful. So hopefully everybody out there is being careful. You know, I get my groceries, like they put my groceries into my trunk. I don't even go into the grocery store. So that's for my family's safety and for the workers, like, you know, so doing my part. But yeah, Eric and I we're talking about, you know, getting back on the horse and doing some new stuff. So, and some of the merch orders that have come in recently, I'm like, oh, look out for some new stuff, you know, exciting stuff from us next year. And
Yeah.
That's what's going to be, you know, as soon as we get a chance to get in there and start hashing some stuff out.
Yeah, hopefully things like calm down in 2021. I mean, who knows? It could be 2022 until things kind of get back to normal. I mean, who knows? You know, the vaccine might work, it might not work. You know, you never know. It's just like you said, being safe, wearing a mask,
Yeah.
like sanitize your hands. Try not to go out as much as possible. I mean, the only place that I go is I go to work and I go to the grocery store only because I have to eat to survive.
Sure.
But everything else, all my kids are remote learning. They're not going to school. They were doing hybrid schooling, but me and my wife decided like we were just going to keep them home and just keep everybody as safe as possible. And that's kind of, I know California blew up in the beginning with a ton of cases. And then it was like New York, and now Massachusetts, which is close to us, is really like ramped up with cases too. So I mean, it's crazy right now, and people aren't listening with the holidays and stuff like that. And that's the thing that's sad about all this is you know there wouldn't be as many cases if people just were a little more you know thinking about another human being instead of themselves. You know what I mean? And that's what it comes down to.
That's where the motivation comes from for me, is I want to make sure that everybody else is safe. You know, obviously I want to protect my family and myself, but you know, I run a lot. I run about 40 miles a week, and so I'm out there running, and I'm always wearing my neck gaiter, you know, and I'm coming across people and their masks are down. I'm like, I get it. I'm not going to get mad at anybody. People are just living and they're doing their thing, and we're all just trying to figure out what's the right thing to do. And all the leadership is not giving us the right messages. And, but I think it's really just important to try to think about the other people in your community and, do your best to minimize contact. And, but I understand people are tired and they miss their friends and their families, and so I'm not going to get on anybody for doing that either. So
yeah, same here, definitely. Usually in every discussion that I have, I usually throw a little rapid fire at them at the towards the end. So I got a few questions to ask you real quick. Favorite New England hardcore punk screamo band all time for you in New England?
Oh God. Well, I mean, Daughters, but are they that? I don't know.
Yep, Rhode Island. That's New England.
Yeah. Okay. Well, gotta say Daughters, of course.
My second question: what was the first punk hardcore show you attended? Like as you walked in and saw a punk or hardcore show?
Oh my God, I can't remember. I remember the first real punk show I ever went. No, I don't know. God, I don't know. I'm thinking Mankind. You remember? You know Mankind?
I do remember the band Mankind. Yes,
but I might be wrong. I don't want to say, but maybe that's the one. That's what's coming to mind.
Okay. My next question: all-time favorite punk hardcore show you played in Jeromes Dream? Like, what was the your all-time favorite that meant the most to you? You can give me a couple because you guys have been playing, for a while. So maybe top 2-3 shows.
Okay. Sioux Falls. First time we've ever played in Sioux Falls. We pull up and there's just these kids. It's like in this house, and it was like out in a field, and sorry. Battery getting low. This old farmhouse, there was like a wraparound porch, and it was like dusk when we were arriving, and we were on tour with Orchid, and we'd been driving all day, and we were running late, and we let them know. We pulled over to a payphone. Hey, we're running late, and we pull up to the house, and all these kids are just sitting around the porch with their legs hanging off, and just waiting. And we got in there, we set up, and we played, and the energy was just nuts. And then Wilkes-Barre Fest was a lot of fun. They turned the lights off, and they just had this side door. It was like in a cargo, kind of a warehouse place, and the door up. So that was the light coming in from outside, and people were going crazy, and like I was getting sprayed with a water gun while I was playing, and I just had my big bottle of Poland Spring water, like my 1.5 liters, and I was just like kind of going like this in between songs, like spraying people, and I could just hear them like screaming. Oh, it's like crazy. Like somebody fell into Eric's drums, and I mean, there's so many good ones, God. And then coming back, like our first show back, like when we played in Connecticut, and we played in Waterbury, which wasn't one of the shows. It was like our secret show. That, I mean, God, almost 20 years. It felt amazing, and all the kids there. It's just, so they're my 3.
Yeah, it's nice. Like I said, the 2 that stood out for me that you guys played was, like I said, the Tin Can Fest was insane to me. And when you guys played with Reversal and Assuck and Bastion and Frodis, that show was so memorable to me. I remember Assuck got shut down a little early though, because there was like fights in the crowd and stuff like that. I think they only played maybe 3/4 of their set, and then the guy who was running the place up there just shut the show down, which was a bummer. But at least like everybody else got to play,
I do remember that. What the fuck,
I think it was kind of like more of like a youth crew kids versus like crust kids, and like it was like like maybe 3 separate fights all like in the thing, and the guy that was running it couldn't really handle it, so we just shut the whole show down at the end.
That sucks.
Yeah.
I think I was just so enamored with Reversal that I forgot about that. And then after that show, they actually came back down to Connecticut, and they stayed with us.
Oh, no kidding.
So we got to know them pretty well. So that just like disappeared from my memory. But now that you bring it up, I do.
And do you remember that Seisha did play that Tin Can Fest? Because me and Pete, like we say they played, and Jamie's like, I don't remember playing that. I'm like,
I don't remember.
I'm like, you played that show, like 100% they played.
I don't remember, but maybe. I mean, we played the last Seisha show at ABC No Rio. I forget who else played. Maybe Catharsis. I can't remember, but I do. We did. I mean, we played a bunch of shows with Seisha, at least 10, and they were great. All those guys were fantastic, and yeah. So
someone just asked, did you guys ever play with the Red Scare?
I think so. I think we did, but I couldn't tell you where. But I think so. I remember the guitar player whose name I'm forgetting, but he played in another band with God, who else was in that band? What was that band? Fuck. See, I'm old now. I forget all these bands. God, it was Jay's other band after Panthers.
Oh yeah.
He was in Panthers, I think. But I'm pretty sure we played with the Red Scare at least once or twice, maybe in Tennessee where they were from. So.
All right, my next question: all-time favorite punk hardcore show you attended, that you watched the show and that you didn't play the show at all, that you kind of went to see a band and you were blown away by. What's your all-time favorite punk hardcore show that you watched as a attendee?
God, could you have asked me this when I was 20? It would have been a lot easier. Oh.
Well, I don't know. Maybe you saw Slayer on their last like tour or something, and that was like memorable. It's just like I don't know, just any
Sure.
Could be any time frame.
Sure. Oh man. I think maybe when when ISIS was touring Panopticon and they played out here in San Francisco, I can't remember what year it was. My jaw was hanging because they played this really great venue here called Great American Music Hall, and the sound was just amazing, and it was full, you know, and it's really beautiful old venue. And the ceiling, you know, everything's nice. Like there's like a balcony. It was really just something. And the sound just floored me. And they came in with that, whatever the first song on that record is, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
And I was like, oh my God. And it's just like, and I just stood there the whole time with my jaw, just like, you know, that's the first one that pops into head. So I mean,
Yeah.
there are others that also equally floored me, but that's the one.
Okay, my next question. What was the last movie you watched? I'm a huge movie guy. I don't. Some people aren't. Some people are. I'm a huge movie guy. So, what was the last movie you watched?
I don't know. My wife and I, we watch TV a lot together. Last movie we watched, I don't remember. Yeah, I couldn't tell you. It's been a while.
Yeah, sometimes being fathers, I always get, like I said last talk, someone would say like, "Oh, Dr. Doolittle was my last one," or Dora the Explorer, or something like that. You know.
You know what? Now that you mention it, it might be. My son and I, we went to a drive-in. We saw Mrs. Doubtfire, and he had never been to a movie outside of our house. You know, I mean, because he was 4 when this all started. So, but I took him to a drive-in up north of San Francisco in Marin, and we saw Mrs. Doubtfire, and he was like, "This is incredible," you know. Like,
Yeah.
I got him some takeout, and I let him sit in the front seat with me, and that might be it. I think maybe my wife and I watched something recently, but I can't remember now. But we watch a bunch of TV together. So,
my last question, if you listen to hip hop, what have you been listening to for hip hop lately? If you even been listening to hip hop?
I don't listen to a lot of hip hop. My son likes to dance, so he'll you know, he really likes that Old Time Road song. So he makes me put that on, and then he'll just dance around. He's a little ham, you know. He just like dances around the house, and he's actually a pretty good dancer. So I mean, that's a good song, right? I don't know, but I think the last thing I listened to seriously was a guy, Mick Jenkins.
Oh, Mick Jenkins, yeah.
Yeah. You know, I used to work with low-income students here in San Francisco, helping them go to college until JD started doing our thing again, and I had to leave that job. But a lot of my students knew that I had made music, so, and some of them were really into music, and they would just always share stuff with me. And,
yeah,
oh, check this out, you know. And there's one student named Chris, and Mick Jenkins was like huge for him, huge, like just helped him like maintain, you know, and, you know, all the traumas that he was facing in his community. And, you know, he would come to my office every day and be like, "Dude, listen to this," you know. And
yeah,
like all my students, they called me like uncle or dad or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, because, you know, I'm older, and, you know, but also we were on a level where we could share those kinds of things, and he would just come in and share stuff with me. So recently I was thinking about him. I was like, oh shit, Mick Jenkins. And so I just went and I put on some Mick Jenkins, and just kind of vibed out to it while I was cleaning the house one day. So
now, were you a '90s like hip hop guy? Were you like you know, like Public Enemy and Tribe Called Quest, De La Soul? Were
Sure.
those?
Sure.
Were you listening to that back then?
Oh yeah, Farside. Yeah, I think you mentioned Tribe Called Quest, Diggable Planets, stuff like that. Like that kind of just like, they have that kind of jazzy feel.
The jazz vibe, yeah.
God, who else? I'm drawing a blank now. But yeah.
I mean, Gangstar was big for me. I love Gangstar.
Guru. Absolutely. Yeah, that stuff for sure.
I mean, Souls of Mischief from California, those guys were really great. Hieroglyphics. I just asked that because, like, one, I'm a huge hip hop guy. I don't like the new school trap type of hip hop, but I love the '90s style, the late '80s, '90s, and you can still, there's artists that are doing that style now. If you just dig in the crates, you'll find a bunch of other people that are doing, young kids that are doing that style too.
Yeah.
But I always like try to say that punk and hardcore and screamo and hip hop are kind of similar, just because it's revolutionary music that like is underground in a way, and it builds community together, with like more positive hip hop stuff that we were talking about, you know what I mean? But I feel those two are similar, and a lot of people don't think they are, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. You know, going back to my old student, Chris, it was always fun because I would be like, okay, now listen to this. And he'd be like either he would have heard it, but he'd be like, how the fuck does he know this? Or he'd be like, damn, that's really good, And,
Yeah.
Especially since hip hop's not really my thing, like I appreciate it. And I agree exactly with what you're saying. And we would always be like, cause you got it. I mean, Wu-Tang, man, Wu-Tang, and I would just be like, Wu-Tang. And he'd be like, no. And he was all about like West Coast. And I'd be like, no, man, like the darkness that you feel, like there's just like this level of like foreboding in the Wu-Tang stuff that I really identified with. I mean, I love the sunny, flowery, like, I don't know, Snoop Dogg, whatever, you're just like kind of like
Yeah.
time or whatever, it's like party stuff. And then, but like that darkness of like of Wu-Tang or like Curtis Blow or whatever, like, yeah. I mean, I'm probably gonna go on a hip hop binge now when I get off.
well, I say that too, because I was listening to heavy music I started going to shows when I was 12 years old in '84. I took a break because it scared the shit out of me, and I went back when I was like 15, and I started going to see youth crew like bands like I saw all the greats, Youth of Today, Gorilla Biscuits, Judge, and then it kind of just went in like I kind of got into like a metalcore phase, and then the screamo, which I don't really like the term screamo, because when you guys first came out, there was no such thing as screamo. Nobody said, "Oh, Jerome's Dream's a screamo band." You guys were just a punk or hardcore band back then.
Yeah.
Which in scrams is another word that destroys my mind. I'm an old guy. I'm going to be 49 in less than January 1st. I'll be 49. So I've been around a long time, and that term it's super cringeworthy to me.
I just say no thanks.
Yeah.
No thanks. Yeah. I'm just like, no, I'm good. I'm just gonna call it punk. Pardon me while I'm going to plug in, just so pardon my tilt here. I don't want to die in the middle of this. So there we go. So hopefully it doesn't tilt too much. Yeah. Okay. It's a little bit crooked.
No, you're perfect.
Okay.
Perfect.
Yeah. Yeah. No, the Scrams thing, like, it's just silly. Like I get it. Like, people, a sense of humor is really important, and we shouldn't take ourselves too seriously. But yeah, I can never call it that. So I just call it punk. Like, we're a punk band. I know Eric calls it we're a hardcore band, and that's fine too. So
yeah,
but yeah. So.
Yeah, I just wanted to put that in there. But I don't want to take you too much of your time. I appreciate this, Jeff, so much. Like, it's really important that I had you on. I think a lot of people like to hear from Jerome's Dream, and I love talking to everybody that I've talked to. This like small amount of time that I've been having discussions has been really like a positive thing in my life. I mean, with quarantining and like just being bored and like missing the scene, and I've lived this culture for a long time, and I just want to like say again, I appreciate your time. Thank you so much for talking with me, and everybody go to Bandcamp and pay some money to hear that song. That's the thing I always say is too, if I like a band, I'm going to buy their shirt. If I like, yeah, I'm going to buy their CD. It's like reach out, you know, the DIY stuff and the independent stuff, like spend your money on, you know, these things, because it's important to a lot of people. It's important to me. And I appreciate you. And once again, thank you so much for doing this.
It's my pleasure, man. This was a lot of fun. Yeah, I don't get to talk about this stuff a lot. You know, it's just Eric and I, and we have a group chat with Nick or Jack or Sean from Loma. We talk to a bunch, and I don't get to talk. I just don't get to talk about it. So yeah, I mean, and I mean, you're making me think about so many crazy memories. I'm just like, holy shit, you know. And I'm gonna be like cooking dinner after we get off, you know, or pretty shortly after we get off, and
yeah,
I'm just gonna be like, God damn, you know, and I'm gonna have some moments. So, you know, and my wife, she's totally like, she knows nothing about this world, you know, and you know, her and my kid will be doing their thing, and I'll just be sort of in my own little world.
Yeah, my wife's kind of the same thing. I mean, I dragged her to a few shows back in the day, but like it's not her bag. So like you know, I'll tell her about it, and it's kind of like she's like, yeah, okay, like that's great. Like I'm glad it makes you happy.
It's funny, but you know, it's cool. You know, I think it's really cool. So, but yeah, but anyway, no, this was great, and I'm glad you're doing it, and it's I think it gives, you know, at least for as far as JD is concerned, it gives kids into a window into the past, you know, while we're an active band again, and we plan to be for however long. You know, some of that other stuff, it feels like a time capsule, you know, and I think it's important to know the history, the good and the bad, and the boring and the exciting, and I mean, it just gives you a more rich picture. So
yeah,
it was great. I had a lot of fun.
All right, Jeff. Have a happy New Year. You know, obviously, I'm not doing anything. I'm just gonna chill in. I don't drink anymore. Which is, I mean, I used to. That's what I'm not judging anybody who drinks or does whatever. I'm just gonna stay in with, you know, my daughters and my wife and chill, and but happy New Year to you. Hopefully 2021 is a special year, and we get out of this, and if JD ever plays in New England again, you know, I'll be right there, and I'll be recording it like always. So I hope you have a great year, and please stay in touch with me. Anything, you know, reach out if you need anything or whatever. I'm always here, and I love talking about this stuff, and you know, anything I can do to help you, just let me know.
Awesome. Yeah. And, you know, and I will say we will be playing in New England again, whenever it's safe to get on an airplane, and you'll be the first person on our list. So don't worry. So I'm looking forward to it.
All right, Jeff. I thank you once again, and have a good night.
All right. You too. Take care. Right. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.